Welcome back to Blue Collar Speed and Repair and our 1968 Chevrolet G20 known as the Vuck. Done a lot of work on this thing over several videos, and to be honest, I've kind of been neglecting it lately. We've been tinkering with it here and there, but I haven't done a video on it in a while. Working on other things and other projects and whatnot. I can't work on everything at once, it's just not possible. So I thought today would be a good day to work on a couple things. I've been wanting to do for a while. And then we're going to take it and the Boss's Galaxy to a local car show. All right, for those of you that don't know, if this is your first time to the channel, the Vuck has a wing which runs off an electric motor to open and close it. Previous owner, I believe, had some kind of a race trailer and or camping trailer that they hauled with this thing. It's ran off of an early 70s GM seat track and seat motor, and the seat motor was all locked up, and we ended up using just an Amazon electric motor to make the wing work. Problem is, the motor is extremely slow. So this wing, I think I timed it, it takes about 3 minutes to fully open. It's kind of frustrating. And it's a 100 RPM motor, and on Amazon, the right style and what would work, I couldn't find something with a higher RPM. I found something. So step one is we're going to take this thing apart, swap out the motor, see if we can get that working faster. And the other thing I want to do is, if you don't know, this has an air horn. Again, previous owner, whoever built this rig, had an air horn on it or installed an air horn, as well as, I don't know if you can see it down there very well, but there's an air tank. So the air tank has just a Schrader valve. So you would pump up the tank with compressed air and then be able to use your air horn. I have a little mini 12-volt compressor that I want to wire in and plumb in so that we can use the air horn at will. I don't know, I want it to work correctly and easily. So let me grab some tools. We'll go up, we'll look at this wing real quick and see what we got going on. So this is the inside of the wing. You can see the seat tracks, motor we installed. This is like the transmission deal. So this would has electrical connection in it that would change which set of cables, of course they've all been removed, but which set of cables this motor would turn. It's been jerry-rigged in order to just run this set, which I believe was just forward and back for the seat. Works pretty good, but this transmission is a reduction as well. So whatever speed, so RPM of the 100 RPM motor here gets reduced by this transmission. That's why it moves so slow. So I have a different motor to try that we're probably going to have to kind of jerry-rig like we did this one, but it should work. Now, rather than try to do all this in here, I think we're going to take this whole contraption out, which is a little bit of a pain. You got to prop the wing up, and I think we had to take the transmission off in order to get room to then weasel this thing kind of out of here. So I brought some tools with me. We got to unhook these little stand deals, and then a handful of 5/16 bolts. Unbolt the transmission, see if we can get this thing out of here. I apologize now, there is not a good place to put this camera, there's not a good place to put lights. You're going to have to bear with me here, I'm sorry. I guess we can take the transmission piece out first. I don't believe we had to have the motor off to get this in and out of here. Let's see. Should be able to take these bolts out. Okay. I did bring my custom 1968 wing prop. All right, a handful of bolts. Pull this whole frame mechanism out of here. Well, I should unplug the motor first. That wire just pulled out. Interesting. Okay, maybe this way. Okay. Don't worry, my foot caught it. Ow. All right. All right, I mocked all this back up, put the transmission back on, mocked it up to a jumper box here to kind of show you how slow this motor is. If I can hold these all together here, there we go. If you look here, you can see how slow this is turning. That's supposed to be roughly 100 RPMs. Compare that to this motor. Now, I don't know what RPM range this is, or what RPM I should say. This motor came out of some kind of a transfer fluid pump for flushing some kind of fluid in an automobile. They were throwing them, junking the machine at work. A buddy of mine at work kept the motors because he's a hoarder like I am. Thought, hey, these might be useful for something. And he gave me one. So we're going to try to mount this in here and see if we can make this whole contraption work a little better. Probably leave the transmission bolted in place since we kind of need that to figure out mounting location. I believe these are 10 millimeter. And this L bracket did come with this motor when we bought it off of Amazon. The motor wasn't very expensive. It has the D shape that this little coupler in this transmission uses. I'll show you that in a minute, which is why I went with this one. This motor does not. We will not. Should be close to the same thickness. In fact, I don't think it is. So we'll have to machine that down with a grinder. See if we can make it fit this coupler. Unfortunately, we won't be able to use this bracket, I don't believe. Well, maybe. Could just cut it off, I guess. Well, I think it has to move one way or the other, that way, to make this all work right. So probably cut this bracket off and start over. You can see the D shape we need. So we're gonna have to figure out how to turn that into that. All right, cutoff wheel. Try to cut this old bracket off of here. Then we'll try to figure that stuff out. Alright, I think welding a piece of angle iron or something to this to mount the motor is going to be the easy part. Getting these two to connect is going to be a little tricky, because realistically this entire thing needs to be smaller. So how in the world do I do that? Do I cut the shaft off this motor and sacrifice it? Kind of don't want to. I measured the shaft of the other motor. It is roughly 360 thousandths. This one is about 430. So if we turn this motor on, should be able to use a file to shave it down. Where are we at now? Mm, 420. All right, it's going to take a few minutes. All right, that's about 365 or so. Now let's see if we can make our flat spot. Look at that. That should do it. That should work. This shouldn't interfere here if we run our wires correctly. So, okay, found a chunk of angle iron. Feel like that should work. This is 3 inches across. I think if we cut a 3-inch section out of that, drill a couple holes, bolt it together, and then we just weld the angle iron here if we can get it straight enough. And then we'll try to mount this thing back in there and see if it works. All right, cut this off, get the welder out, drills, all that good stuff, see how we end up. Okay, before we put this back in, I want to test it. Hopefully this works okay. Hopefully something doesn't just break apart. Here we go. Oh, that's way faster. Oh, okay, got it. So the little end that locks this on here is long gone. I have no idea where it went. Might have to get creative with some zip ties or something. Maybe tie this off over here, tie that into there. The other downside to this is there is what's the word I'm looking for? There's no limit switch. There's nothing to stop the motor, so we'll have to be careful running it up and down and pay attention, because I guess you can just keep holding the switch and break something. It's broken. That would be exactly what I was afraid of. That's broke. Well, crap. Now what? Remember what I said about being really, really careful? That's why. So I skipped ahead a little bit. I ended up cutting that broken end off and cutting a D back into it with a little rotary tool. Currently it's working. I don't know how long it's gonna last. Again, gonna have to be extremely careful with it. Obviously when it's mounted, you can see how high and how low the wing is. This transmission piece, of course this is plastic, but this whole transmission piece, you can only get used. I found it on eBay for $400. I'm not buying a $400 part for this, but I kind of need to use this setup, otherwise the entire thing has to be redesigned. So, we're gonna run with this and see what happens. It's not like I'm running that thing up and down a whole bunch of times anyway, but I do want it to work correctly if I can. So, my spirits are down now, because that was unexpected, but that's all right. We're gonna get this thing mounted back in there, make sure the wing actually goes up and down, and then never touch it again, ever. And then let's do this compressor. Okay, skipped ahead a bit. Went ahead and got it bolted back in, handful of bolts, couple wires. You guys didn't need to watch all that mess again. Play it in reverse if you need to see it. All that's left now is try it out. See how this thing works. All right, down. And stop. All right. Well, that is definitely a whole heck of a lot faster than it was before. It's unfortunate that little piece broke. We don't really tow. We don't have a fifth wheel or a big race trailer, so it's not like we're going to be putting that up and down a bunch of times, but it is neat that it's working. Like I said, to improve it, we'd have to redesign the entire thing, and I don't really want to do that, so it's good enough for round 2, I think. All right, I'm going to clean up a bit of my mess here. I got tools laid out here, tools laid out all over the place over there. Clean up a little bit, move this thing over. Let's see about putting this compressor in. All right, underneath here, you can see the air tank. Hose runs out this side. Would have used a Schrader valve to fill it up. I want to hook in this little mini compressor. It's a Firestone. I believe it's from like an air helper bag set up for a truck for heavier loads or whatever. I think I'm just going to kind of mount it like that. We got to put a pressure switch in this T somehow. Put a line from there to there. A little bit of wiring, and should be pretty straightforward. We got to kind of do this quick. The car show starts in a couple hours. Don't have a lot of time, so I think I'm gonna mark these holes. Pop in some riv nuts real quick, get that mounted, and then we'll figure out the rest. Okay, got the compressor mounted in a hurry. I was off on my marks a little bit. 2 bolts is plenty, let's be honest. So from here, before we do wiring, need to connect this T-fitting to the tank. These are 1/8 inch, and unfortunately what I have is not. Those are quite a bit bigger. This is the horn that was on my dad's truck. This line here is 1/8 inch, and that's 1/8 inch. This would be the solenoid that would allow air into the compressor when you hit a button, or excuse me, into the horn. So I think I'm just going to rob these 2 for now, and put me a short piece of line from there to there, And then we got a pressure switch to wire in, a relay to wire in, and we are done. Like I said, pretty straightforward job, not too hard. I do apologize, I'm in a bit of a hurry. Time got away from me, which it generally does. The car show that we want to go to, that we're actually registered for, is here next hour and a half or so. And still got to wash the Galaxy, got to wash this thing, got to get these brothers loose. It's going to fight me, I'm going to get angry. Alright, give me a minute. Like that. Pressure switch. Piece of line. All right, this is just standard, like 1/4 inch plastic line, specifically for air, actually. Go somewhere in there. That. I'll replace that fitting while I'm here. All right, mount a quick relay. Luckily the battery is just up there, so we can wire in directly to that. Battery feed to the compressor will come from the battery through the relay, through the pressure switch into the compressor. It's already grounded. As far as ignition to run the relay, on this side for our radiator fan, auxiliary radiator fan, there's already a relay with an ignition wire ran to that. So I'm just going to run off that ignition source across and back. All that wire does and that fuse does is power that relay, so it should be plenty of amperage just to turn 2 relays on. All right, get to work. Okay, as far as the relay goes, I'm just going to give it a self-tapper right here next to the compressor. I did ground the relay to that same screw, which means anytime the ignition's on, this relay will be on, which means the compressor will be on. That's for an interest of time. I will rewire this later. That ground will go through a switch on the dash somewhere so that I can toggle this off and on so the compressor's not running all the time. But again, I'm out of time. Okay. Ouch. Okay. Quick wire from there to there. Hot wire to the battery. Ignition wire to the other relay, and the zip ties, and voila, we're done. Okay, key on. Really loud compressors on. It is solid mounted to the frame. I didn't have any rubber washers or anything. Again, I'll get to that later. All right, gonna let this run for a minute and make sure the pressure switch shuts it off, and should be good. There we go. About 105 PSI. Wow, that's loud.
That's a lot louder than I thought it was going to be.
Try it again. Okay. All right, so that works. All right, we got to get this thing out, get it washed up, get it wiped down a little bit. Same with the Galaxy, and we will see you guys at the car show. All right, new day. Car show was really cool. A lot of cool cars there. I didn't do any recording really because they had speakers all over the place playing music. And I know you're supposed to have like a license and all that stuff, put music on your channel. And although I'm not monetized yet, I don't want to get any kind of trouble while I'm still trying to start out. I don't really know how that crap works, so I figured it would be best to just not bother. Did walk around, showed you guys a bunch of cars. Pretty cool stuff out there. A lot of really nice stuff that is, you know, out of my wheelhouse. You know, there's car people and car show people, in my opinion. We're not car show people. There were cars out there with little models of their car on top of their car and signs and, you know, do not touch everywhere and all that stuff, which is great. If you enjoy that stuff, that's fine. That's not me. I like to enjoy my stuff. I like to pull them out of the garage. I drive them to work. I drive them around town, whatever. again, nothing wrong with garage queens or whatever you want to call it. I prefer to enjoy mine. I let, you know, kids get in them and climb in them and all that stuff. I don't really care. I'd rather enjoy them for them, the vehicles for the vehicles. Our funny story, our neighbor has a couple toddlers, and the dually has a toolbox, like a bolt-in toolbox. And they were in there climbing around, the box was open. They had damn near everything out of that box spread all over the place. And I don't care, enjoy it, have fun. Anyway, all that being said, a lot of cool cars, several Tri-5s, a couple GTOs, the Vice Grip Garage dually giveaway, if you're aware of that, that was there. I've seen that thing around town a few times. Apparently he's fairly local to us. General Lee, Smokey and the Bandit, Trans Am, a lot of cool stuff. Anyway, unfortunately we couldn't talk about it. Not that I know much about it, but that's okay. So, videos all over the place. I know it, I'm sorry. It's just the way it works sometimes. Got the wing working better. Unfortunately, that little snout thing broke, but we got it kind of rigged up a little better, and I feel like if we just kind of don't mess with it any more than we have to, it'll be okay. Threw that compressor in there just kind of quickly. Something I've been wanting to do for a while. I do need to rubber mount it. I do need to run a switch, that kind of stuff. So, a lot of me jabbering here, and I'm sorry. If you enjoyed it at all, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Like the video if you would, I'd appreciate it. Leave me a comment. I read them all. I try to respond as best I can. All that good stuff. I'm sorry, I've got other things going on as well, so I'm trying to get through this quickly. Email in the description below. Send me pictures of what you're working on. I'd love to check them out, or just say hi, or whatever you want to do. I appreciate it either way. And Boss Lady is not out here to tell you thanks for hanging out, so I will tell you thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it very, very much. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will see you guys next time.